All right, back at it again. Got a good one today. This is going to be the second full case progression video that I've ever put out. This will be going on YouTube for anybody to watch for free, and it'll be there until the end of time. Or maybe I'll get account banned for saying too many gamer words. But until then, this video will be up there. And I'm still finishing up editing, and it's going to be like, it's a huge, absolutely huge video. But I prefer it that way. I want to have as much detail as possible because this one's really interesting. So I'm going to try to keep this as succinct as possible. I could talk about this dog. His name's Pongo. I could talk about him for probably days at a time. And I have, honestly, over the course of the time that I had him. I was obsessed with his situation in the program. So I'll try to cut right to the chase here. That way you can get right into the actual dog training stuff. So I got a phone call from a client who I had helped about 1.5 years, 2 years ago. She had adopted a border collie mutt from a shelter, and the dog was actually in a pretty bad state. But we did a private lesson program, got the dog to a good spot, and she took my direction and just ran with it for like 1 year, 2 years, something like that, and did extremely well with a really challenging dog. So the time came where she was like, hey, I want to add a second dog on. And I had zero objections because they had done so well with the first dog named Duchess, and she's still doing extremely well. So she goes back to the same shelter and she adopts this dog named Pongo, who kind of looks like a Dalmatian. He has no Dalmatian in him whatsoever. He's mostly like elk hound, pit, and a couple other things. But right away, she could tell something was wrong with Pongo. When he was at the shelter, he was absolutely petrified. And a lot of the times with these types of dogs, when you remove them from the shelter, they improve drastically as soon as they realize they've got a home and they've got space and people looking out for them regularly and things like that. Like, they just start to kind of come to a state of equilibrium. Pongo did not. And this is where there's just no doubt, I have to fess up, I wasn't being a great guy. Because right away, the client gets back in touch with me and is like, hey, I adopted another dog and like something's wrong. Like he is seriously afraid of everything. We've had him for weeks now. It's been 3 weeks. He has not untucked his tail. He runs from me. I can't get him to go outside. He's just a wreck. And I was at a point where I was extremely busy. I'm going to make excuses now. I was extremely busy. I know I had 2 board and trains going at the time. One of them was a really, really human aggressive dog. I had a bunch of stuff going on for school, and I kind of just didn't really believe her fully, because dog owners often, they have a knack of catastrophizing things, right? So I'm reading her messages and I'm just figuring, the dog will get fine. He'll be fine. He just needs to get used to being home, yada, yada, whatever. But she keeps reaching out to me. She's like, Dylan, it's like things are not getting better. Like, this is probably getting worse, if anything. Like, I can't even get him to go outside anymore. He's so scared, I have to drag him out the front door to go do potty breaks. And the dog got to the point where he realized what was going on. He started sneaking away to different corners of the house to secretly pee, so he didn't have to go to the front yard to pee. But still, I'm like really busy and all this. Finally, she gets back in touch with me one more time. I was on a trip back to school in Florida. And she says, Dylan, like I am actually at the end of the road here. I can't give this dog a life. Like, I can't even live my life while he's like this. Like, I'm gonna have to return him to the shelter. Like, is there anything that you can do? And I still, to be honest with you, just coming clean, I still didn't really believe her that it was as bad as she was saying. I said, you know what? I've kept you stringing along long enough. Obviously, you're really upset. There's probably something going on. When I get home, like next week, when I'm back from school, let's meet up. I'll be over at your house someday. Like, we'll pick like a Friday morning and I'll come out and I'll spend as much time as you want and we're going to get you guys squared away. She said, okay. And that's going to be the first pre-training footage, the pre-program footage you see on here was our first private lesson. It was our only private lesson because it was a catastrophic failure. And I realized within 2 minutes that if anything, the owner was underselling how fucked up this dog is. Destroyed. Like, I want to say maybe tied for the first place for the most miserable animal I've ever met in my life. Miserable dog. I had a cattle dog named Charlie who came to me that actually, I think, when he came in, I think he wanted to commit suicide. He was that miserable. But Pongo's like right up there. Like, just has nothing going for him. His brain, and like you're going to see this throughout the case progression, his brain has this way of like almost looking for reasons to fall into the abyss. One little domino tips over and he's just melting down. Like he you can see in his eyes, he just goes like he's no longer with us. He's in outer space. And when he gets into this state, there's no communicating with him. He's just gone. So what is going on in terms of the behaviors? How is this manifesting? Like I said earlier, she has to drag him, often drag him and push him to get him out of the door. And she just knew, like, I need to do due diligence as a dog owner. You're supposed to walk your dog. You're supposed to take your dog outside. I'm not going to let you just like rot underneath the couch hiding forever. We're going to go try to walk. So the problem is, and you'll see in the footage here, that if she tries to walk him, and you can tell from the footage too, the owner is like, she's an older woman. She doesn't have great mobility, doesn't have great physical handling skill, whatever, however you want to call it. This little dog, he is just trying to drag her back to the house. He's trying to drag her so he can run into the woods. He's trying to hide underneath things. If he sees a person, a dog, anything on the horizon even, he has one of two reactions. One, like I was saying, is retreat at all costs, like I need to get away. Or two, he goes into this weird like reactivity meltdown zone where there is just, he just is like back and forth barking, back and forth barking, back and forth barking, maybe a little like circling, back and forth barking. And you'll do this 10, 15 minutes. Like as long as the person is there, he will keep going until he blows his throat out. And they're at a point where they can do nothing. They can't have people over to the house because he loses his fucking mind. The owner herself, like he will occasionally come over to her inside of the house and like lay on her lap. But if she goes over to him to try to put a leash on him or pet him, he runs away. So this is really, really bad. And we ran what you're going to see here, like a little private lesson. Some of the footage is in there. And during that time frame, I was becoming really obsessed with the idea of trying to get things done in private lessons, because I'm always looking for ways to kind of like upset my own balance and put myself into uncomfortable scenarios to try to get better at training dogs. And the board and train is like the ultimate behavioral mod weapon. The board and train, which is time. The board and train equals time, right? So like when I take a dog, a behavioral case, I can just keep the dog as long as I want, because that's just how the owners operate with me. So I went through this phase where I was like, man, I would love to get some really out of control struggling dogs and see what I can do in like 6 lessons or something. So with Pongo, I was pretty resolved. I was like, you know what, we're going to go in, we're going to do the lesson, and then even if it wasn't great, I'm going to give her some basic instructions. I'm going to come back and we're going to get after it and see how long we can do this. We have the board and train later as an option if needed. I came back for the second lesson and she was standing in her driveway without Pongo, no dog. I get out of the car and she's just like, Dylan, I can't do this. There's no way. I cannot do private lessons. I can't do a step of what you're asking me to do. This is just totally undoable for me. Like I cannot physically handle him when he melts down, and he is melting down all day long. Every waking moment he is outside of the house, he is just a frenzied animal, like looking, like feeling as if he's being hunted or stalked. Like that's the only way. And I know some of it, like he looks horrible on camera. Some of it is just, you have to be there to feel the energy. Like he is just seriously desperate. And the owner's like, dude, I can't do this. Like if we can't do a board and train, I have to take him back. And like if the board and train fails, I have to take him back. Like this is just, and to her credit, she did not sign up for this. And this is, dogs get returned for 10% of what Pongo was doing. And his owner is just an absolute warrior for this dog. because she tolerated a lot of just out of control behavior. So, and a lot of physical pain. So I was like, you know what? It was very selfish of me to try to stick to the private lesson thing. It was a stupid idea. I should have seen that. And like watching back the footage from that lesson, it was just like, what the fuck was I thinking? There's no way they can't do this. They just can't. So I was like, this is what we're going to do. I'm going to clear space. And in 4 or 5 weeks, I'm going to come pick them up. And in the short term, just don't be a hero. This is actually the first and only time I have ever told a client, don't try to walk your dog. Do not take him outside. If you like, get him out to go potty, run back inside, and let him hang out with Duchess because he loves the other dog in the house. But don't just return him, get him to me in this state, which is really, really bad, but I would rather him not have more trauma, and I'd rather her not get hurt. You know what I'm saying? So the pre-training footage is from that first failed lesson. And then a few days before I took him, I went by to do one more like walk around their neighborhood with them so I could see them operating in their environment. And what's absolutely just insane is that the place that they live in is like a dog owning paradise. It's unbelievable. They've got a beautiful neighborhood, beautiful streets, well-maintained, nice neighbors. They've got multiple gigantic open parks within walking distance. They've got a sprawling wooded trail network. Right, I'm talking like less than 100 yards from her front doorstep, there's access to multiple different parks and wooded trails, and they have never been able to enjoy any of it because it doesn't matter where you have Pongo. You could have him at the dog equivalent of an amusement park, and he is looking for a place to hide, feeling sorry for himself and panicking. So this is just insane. So I took him on after we did that last evaluation. Took him a few days later. The idea being that I would probably have him for a couple months, and it ended up being, I think, exactly 9 weeks. I probably could have sent him home at 8, but the owner was out of town, and it just logistically made sense for me to board him like for a little bit longer, so we extended the program a little bit more. So it was 9 total weeks, and it's a really interesting one because this is the type of dog that the limitations surface towards the end of the program. If you're really putting a lot of effort in evaluating the dog, giving him as many chances as possible to succeed and get better, you really start to find where the dog just like, at some level, am I just tormenting this dog? You know what I mean? But I will say this, even though I think the limitations will come up, I am stunned at how far this dog was able to go. And I'm kind of spoiling, but he is indistinguishable. Like, indistinguishable. You would have no idea this dog was anything like he was prior to the training. This is the type of dog, too, that a trainer with aversive tools is supposed to destroy, right? Like everything, aversives and punishment are supposed to make these dogs way worse. I have never seen another trainer put out a project like this showing this type of result with a dog that's shut down and this destroyed. I've never seen anyone else do it. So I stand by our work. Some of it was sloppy. You're going to see a lot of shit that was probably dumb. There are things looking back I definitely could have done better. There are plenty of trainers I'm sure that it could have chipped in at certain points and done better than me. But as an overall body of work, I stand by this and I haven't seen anyone else do it. So without further ado, I'm going to let it rip. And then at the end, we did a follow-up lesson. It was a little over 2 weeks after the program, and I'm going to let that part play at the end, and then I'll come in for an outro to talk about that. So enjoy the video.